We hope that watching this film will help prepare you in case you ever have to use a portable fire extinguisher in an emergency. Ideally, you should watch this film with at least 2 of your colleagues, so that you can discuss what you've seen. We will pause at the end of each chapter and ask you some questions, so that you can reflect on what you have seen and heard. Most big fires start from small ones. This might seem obvious, but it outlines the necessity to react to small flames before they spread. Burning torches, overheated fat pans, and poorly disposed cigarette ends are just a few things that can cause fires that threaten the safety of the whole vessel. When used properly, portable extinguishers are an effective part of first response. There are 4 main types that are normally found on a vessel: water, foam, dry powder, and carbon dioxide. Weighing no more than 23 kilograms, they are designed to be operated by hand. It's important to familiarize yourself with the location of fire extinguishers, the type of extinguishing agents they contain, and the way in which they are operated. It's also essential to identify the right type to use, as the wrong extinguisher can make a situation worse. To understand how these work, we must first understand about fire itself. For many years, firefighting training was based on the fire triangle. This suggested there were 3 elements required for a fire to ignite: fuel, oxygen, and heat. But a 4th element has since been added, and it is now known as the fire tetrahedron. Chemical reaction is rapid oxidation that allows combustion to take place, and all 4 parts have to be present to produce fire. The principle of fire prevention is to stop all 4 elements coming together, whereas the technique of firefighting removes 1 or more elements from a fire that has already started. Portable fire extinguishers are an integral part of firefighting. Your company procedures will include guidance on how and when they can be used. In the event of a fire, the first action is always to raise the alarm. The immediate area should be assessed, as should the likelihood of being able to extinguish the fire. Identify the availability of a portable extinguisher and its suitability for the fire. It may be important to isolate power or close a compartment if required. Finally, identify an escape path. This assessment should tell you if you're able to use a portable fire extinguisher. If the fire is inaccessible, too far advanced, or about to cut off your escape route, you should not attempt to put the fire out. In some cases, company procedures permit an approach, but they may require additional personnel to be present to ensure a coordinated attack on the fire. When company procedures allow for independent use, portable extinguishers can prevent small fires from becoming major disasters. Should you tackle a small fire on your own, or should you wait until help arrives? Discuss some situations, like a small fire in a waste paper bin in a cabin. What do your company procedures say that you should do? Click the pause button and start your discussion. The International Maritime Organization classifies fire according to type, recognizing 2 standards that define the nature of the burning material. These have been developed by the International Organization for Standardization, or ISO, and the US-based National Fire Protection Association, NFPA. Portable fire extinguishers are described by the class of fires on which they can be used. These are the classes of fire according to the ISO standard. Class A fires involve solid materials which are usually organic, where combustion occurs with the formation of glowing embers. Class B fires involve liquids or liquefiable solids. And Class C fires involve gases. Class D fires involve metals. And Class F fires involve cooking oils. The ISO standard uses very similar terms to the NFPA standard, but there are two very significant differences. Instead of being Class C, as they are in the ISO standard, fires involving flammable gases form part of Class B under the NFPA standard. Similarly, fires involving cooking oils and fats form part of Class K under the NFPA standard, rather than Class F as listed in the ISO standard. The NFPA standard also has its own class for fires in energized electrical equipment, whereas the ISO standard considers that electrical fires can happen across the other classes and does not distinguish them with a class of their own. It is important to identify which standard your ship operates under, though the type of extinguisher and the kind of fire on which it can be used will be indicated on the label. In the video, we were told that there are different standards for the way fires are classified. This is important to us because we need to match the type of extinguisher to the type of fire. What fire classification system is in use on board your ship? Click the pause button and start your discussion. The vast majority of portable fire extinguishers have red bodies, but a small number have polished aluminium or stainless steel bodies. These are mainly found on cruise liners and ferries, where the colouring is used for decorative purposes. In order to identify the type of extinguisher, it is mandatory for there to be a coloured panel, up to a maximum of 5% of the external area, displayed above the operating instructions.
In this situation we have a Class A fire. Class A fires are carbonaceous type fires. We select a fire extinguisher which has got the appropriate icon for a Class A fire. First of all, I need to withdraw the safety pin from the extinguisher. Before charging, it's important the extinguisher is at arm's length, so if the extinguisher does fail, I'm not going to incur any injuries to myself. I'm then going to take an overhand grip on the discharge hose and I'm going to briefly charge the extinguisher. And then operate the handle again to assess the depth of throw that I have for that extinguisher. I'm expecting about 6 meters with this extinguisher and the water should last for about 60 seconds. I'm now ready to approach the fire. In doing so, when I pick up the extinguisher, I'm now looking for my overall safety. I'm going to use that extinguisher until it's fully empty. In this scenario, we have a Class B fire, a liquid fuel fire. I need to check that the extinguisher is appropriate for a Class B fire by looking at the pictogram. I then need to take out the safety pin, and by keeping at arm's length for my own safety, I will then charge the extinguisher. I will now check the throw of the extinguisher, which I expect to be approximately 4.5 meters. The throw of this extinguisher should last for about 45 seconds. I will then proceed towards the fire. By allowing the foam to flow across the surface of the fire, we're creating a blanket of foam across the fuel stopping the oxygen from getting to the fire and extinguishing the fires through suffocation. In this scenario, we also have a Class B fire and have chosen to use a dry powder extinguisher. I will check the pictogram to make sure it's appropriate for the type of fire that I'm going to extinguish. We will then take the pin out of the extinguisher and charge the extinguisher. I will then approach the fire. In this scenario, we also have a Class B liquid fuel fire. However, we've chosen to use a carbon dioxide extinguisher. This type of extinguisher may also be used with fires involving electricity. The extinguisher is very loud. It has a frosting effect because it's a compressed gas. So when utilising the extinguisher, it's important that we hold it by the discharge handle. We must never use a discharge tube. The extinguisher is also carbon dioxide, so it does inhibit the oxygen, so in a confined area may also restrict our ability to breathe. So it's important that we're aware of the problems that we may face. Check the extinguisher has got Class B or suitable for electricity related fires. And we will remove the tamper seal. We're now going to take the safety pin out of the extinguisher, and holding the extinguisher with the discharge handle, we're going to test the extinguisher and charge it. We're happy that the extinguisher is working, so now we approach the fire. Taking into account our own safety, we approach to approximately 2 meters. This extinguisher will last for approximately 22 seconds if discharged fully. When we're in position, we'll operate the extinguisher from about a 45-degree angle, directing the extinguisher towards the fuel. In this scenario, we have a metal fire and have chosen to use a Class D dry powder chemical extinguisher to attack this fire. We will go through our standard test procedure, identifying whether there's any obvious signs that the extinguisher has been damaged at all. And then we will take the pin out, and at arm's length we will test the extinguisher to charge the extinguisher and also check the throw from that extinguisher. With all dry powder extinguishers, we're expecting a range of between 3.5 to 4.5 meters. We will make our way to the fire, again taking into account our own safety, looking for slips, trips and falls.
Methods of operation vary upon the manufacturer and type, but each extinguisher features a label containing text and graphics that show technical data and instructions on how to use them. Using the wrong type can also make a fire worse, so it's important to use the right extinguisher at the right time. Did you notice that the extinguishers were all tested to make sure they were working and to confirm the distance of the discharge? Both of these points are important for your safety. You want an extinguisher that works, and you want to stay as far away from the fire as possible. But why should this only be a short test? Hint: can you remember how long each type of extinguisher lasts? Click the pause button and start your discussion. In an emergency situation, the last thing you want is to discover the fire extinguisher is not working. They can malfunction in many ways, ranging in severity. In the worst case scenario, extinguishers have been known to explode during discharge. Maintenance is a primary way to control the operating condition. The IMO requires inspections to take place in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions. They should be serviced annually, a service which is normally performed by a shore-based service provider. Water, foam and powder extinguishers should be discharge tested every 5 years, whereas CO2 extinguishers undergo more extensive testing and require refurbishment every 10 years. Company procedures determine the on-board inspection routine. This might involve a weekly or monthly visual check. The record card attached to the extinguisher indicates the date of the last inspection. If an extinguisher has been discharged, it should be refilled immediately. Instructions for recharging extinguishers are supplied by the manufacturer and available for reference on board. There are minimum service requirements for portable fire extinguishers to ensure they are ready to use at all times. Tamper-proof seals and discharge pins must be in place, and the instructions must be visible. If a pressure gauge is fitted, its reading should be checked, as should the weight of the extinguisher, which will help determine if it's full. It might be necessary to open it up to check the contents. If the gas firing charge is 10 years old, replace it. The hose should be in good condition. Also check that the body is free of any cracks or dents. Finally, portable extinguishers should be in their correct position at all times. What would you do on your ship if you saw that an extinguisher was either missing, in the wrong place, or that it looked like it had not been maintained for a long time? Click the pause button and start your discussion. Portable fire extinguishers are designed to be used by a single person who has discovered a small fire in its early stages. But if a fire is too big or has taken hold, trying to fight a large fire with a small extinguisher puts you and others in danger. Due to the rate at which heat and smoke are generated, speed is critical when most fires start. As such, whoever discovers the fire is exposed to risk, as it's unlikely they will be wearing protective clothing. We have seen that water extinguishers can increase the dangers of cooking oil fires, but they can also lead to electrocution when used on an electric fire. If more than one CO2 extinguisher is used in a confined space, the area must be evacuated immediately, as the level of CO2 will be above the requirement of 5% of the net volume of the space. A CO2 extinguisher allocated to a confined space, such as a server room, is limited in size, so it will not produce an unsafe atmosphere. When discharging this type of extinguisher, the user should hold the insulated part of the discharge horn. This is because the discharge temperature is typically minus 70 degrees Celsius and will cause a freeze burn to exposed skin. It is important to know the procedures in your company and specifically on your ship. Fire drills are there to increase familiarity and confidence. As fires happen without warning, good preparation can be the difference between life and death. We heard that some types of extinguisher, notably CO2, have some health risks, the danger of frost burns and asphyxiation. So do you think everyone on board gets enough practice at fire drills to use a portable extinguisher properly? If not, what should be done? Click the pause button and start your discussion. Fires are extremely dangerous, especially on board ships. Portable fire extinguishers are an effective part of first response and can prevent a small fire from becoming a big fire, which can be the difference between life and death. Remember to follow the safety guidelines on board the vessel. Identify classes of fire and their causes, as well as the types of extinguishers and where they should be used. Maintain equipment with regular inspections so they will work effectively in case of an emergency, and utilize effective risk assessment to identify if it is suitable for the fire. Prepare yourself so that in the event of a fire, you will know what to use and how to use it. It's also important to recognize when an extinguisher should be used. Using the wrong type at the wrong time could be worse than doing nothing at all. Throughout the film, we saw the crewman who started the accommodation fire in a range of situations, not being able to find an extinguisher, overcome by smoke, and also putting the fire out. However, he makes a number of other mistakes throughout. What are they? Click the pause button and start your discussion.